Chaitanya Charitamrita, Adi Leela, chapter 5, verse 16. ताहार उपरि भागे कृष्ण लोक ख्याति द्वारका मथुरा गोकुल त्रिविधत्विस्थिति. Tahara, of all of them, Uparibhagi, on the top, Krishna Loka, Khyati, the planet known as Krishna Loka, Dwarka, Mathura, Gokula, the three places known as Dwarka, Mathura, and Vrindavan, Vidatve, in the three departments, Sthiti, situated. Translation: in the highest region of that spiritual sky, in the spiritual planet called Krishna Loka, it has three divisions: Dwarka, Mathura, and Gokula. सर्वोपरि श्रीगोकुलव्रजलोकधाम श्रीगोलोकश्वेतदीपवृन्दावननाम. Sarvopari, above all of them, Sri Gokula, the place known as Gokula, Vrajaloka Dhama, the place of Vraja, Sri Goloka, the place named as Goloka, Shweta Dvipa, the white island, Vrindavana Nama, also named Vrindavan. Sri Gokula, the highest of all, is also called Vraja, Goloka, Shweta Dvip, and Vrindavan. सर्वग अनंत विभु कृष्ण तानु सम उपरि अधो व्यापी अचे नाही का नियम. Sarvaga, all pervading, Ananta, unlimited, Vibhu, the greatest, Krishna Tanu Sama, exactly like the transcendental body of Krishna, Upariyada, up and down, Vyapiyache, expanded, Nahika, there is no Niyama, regulation. Like the transcendental body of Lord Krishna, Gokula is all pervading, infinite, and supreme. It expands both above and below without any restriction. Srila Jiva Goswami, the great authority and philosopher in the line of Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu, has discussed the abode of Krishna in his Krishna Sandarbha. In Bhagavad Gita, the Lord refers to my abode. Srila Jiva Goswami, examining the nature of Krishna's abode, refers to the Skanda Puran, which states, Ye yatha bhuvi vartante puryo bhagavata priya tas tatha shanti vaikunthe tas tallilartham adritaha. The abodes of Godhead in the material world, such as Dwarka, Mathura, and Gokula, are facsimiles representing the abode of Godhead in the kingdom of God, Vaikuntha. The unlimited spiritual atmosphere of that Vaikuntha is far above and beyond the material cosmos. This is confirmed in the Swayambhuva Tantra in a discussion between Lord Shiva and Parvati regarding the effect of chanting the mantra of 14 syllables. There it is stated, Nana Kalpalatakirnam Vaikuntham Vyapakam Smaret Ada Samyam Gunanam Ja Prakriti Sarvakaranam. While chanting the mantra, one should always remember the spiritual world, which is very extensive and full of desire trees that can yield anything one desires. Below that Vaikuntha region is the potential material energy which causes the material manifestation. The places of the pastimes of Lord Krishna, such as Dwarka, Mathura, and Vrindavan, eternally and independently exist in Krishna Loka. They are the actual abodes of Lord Krishna, and there is no doubt that they are situated above the material cosmic manifestation. The abode known as Vrindavan or Gokula is also known as Goloka. The Brahma Samhita states that Gokula, the highest region of the kingdom of God, resembles a lotus flower with thousands of petals. The outer portion of that lotus-like planet is a square place known as Shvetadvip. In the inner portion of Gokula, there is an elaborate arrangement of Sri Krishna's residence with his eternal associates such as Nanda and Yashoda. That transcendental abode exists by the energy of Sri Baladev, who is the original whole of Shesha or Ananta. The Tantras also confirm this description by stating that the abode of Sri Anantadeva, a plenary portion of Baladeva, is called the kingdom of God. Vrindavan Dham is the innermost abode within the quadrangular realm of Shvetadvip, which lies outside the boundary of Gokula Vrindavan. According to Jiva Goswami, Vaikuntha is also called Brahmaloka. The Narad Pancharatra in a statement concerning the mystery of Vijaya, describes that Sarvopari Goloke Tatra Lokopari Swayam Virahit Paramanandi Govinda Atula Nayaka. The predominator of the gopis, Govinda, the principal deity of the Gokula, always enjoys himself in a place called Goloka, in the topmost part of the spiritual sky. From the authoritative evidence cited by Jiva Goswami, we may conclude that Krishna Loka is the supreme planet in the spiritual sky, which is far beyond the material cosmos. For the enjoyment of transcendental variety, the pastimes of Krishna there have three divisions, and these pastimes are performed in the three abodes, Dwarka, Mathura, and Gokula. When Krishna descends to this universe, he enjoys these pastimes in places of the same name. These places on earth are non different from those original abodes, for they are facsimiles of those original holy places in the transcendental world. They are as good as Sri Krishna himself and are equally worshipable. Lord Chaitanya declared that Lord Krishna, who presents himself as the son of King of Raja, is worshipable, and that Vrindavan Dham is equally worshipable. ब्रह्मांडे प्रकाशितार कृष्णेर इच्छाय एक ही स्वरूपतार नाही दुईकाय. Brahmande within the material world, Prakash manifestation tar of it Krishnera Ichaya by the supreme will of Lord Krishna. Ekai is it is the same name. Swarupa identity tar of it nahi not dui two kaya bodies. That abode is manifested within the material world by the will of Lord Krishna. It is identical to that original Gokula. They are not two different bodies. The above mentioned dhamas are movable by the omnipotent will of Lord Krishna. When Sri Krishna appears on the face of earth, he can also make his dhamas appear without changing their original structure. One should not discriminate between the dhamas on the earth and those in the spiritual sky, thinking those on the earth to be material and the original abodes to be spiritual. All of them are spiritual. Only for us who cannot experience anything beyond matter in our present conditioned state do the dhamas and the Lord himself in the archa form appear before us resembling matter to give us the facility to see spirit with material eyes. In the beginning, this may be difficult for a neophyte to understand, but in due course, when one is advanced in devotional service, it will be easier, and he will appreciate the Lord's presence in these tangible forms. चिंतामणि भूमि कल्पवृक्ष मायवान चर्मचक्षे देखे तारे प्रपंचे रसाम. Chintamani Bhumi, the land of touchstone, Kalpavriksha Maya, full of desire trees, Vana, Charma Chakshe, the material eyes dekhe, see, Tare, it, Prapanche Rasam, equal to material creation. The land there is touchstone, Chintamani, and the forest abound with desire trees. Material eyes see it as ordinary place. By the grace of Lord, his dhamas and he himself can all be present simultaneously, without losing their original importance. Only when one fully develops in affection and love of God it can one see those dhamas in their original appearance. Srila Narottam Das Thakur, a great Acharya in the perceptorial line of Lord Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu, has said for our benefit that one can perfectly see the dhamas only when one completely gives up the mentality of lording it over the material nature. One's spiritual vision develops proportionately to one's giving up the debased mentality of unnecessarily enjoying matter. A diseased person who has become diseased because of a certain bad habit must be ready to follow the advice of physician, and as natural sequence he must attempt to give up the cause of disease. The patient cannot indulge in the bad habit and at the same time expect to be cured by the physician. Modern materialistic civilization, however, is maintaining a diseased atmosphere. The living being is a spiritual spark, as spiritual as the Lord himself. The only difference is that the Lord is great and the living being is small. Qualitatively they are one, but quantitatively they are different. Therefore, since the living being is spiritual in constitution, he can be happy only in the spiritual sky, where there are unlimited spiritual spheres called Vaikunthas. A spiritual being conditioned by the material body must therefore try to get rid of the disease instead of developing the cause of the disease. Foolish person engrossed in their materials and assets are unnecessarily proud of being leaders of people, but they ignore the spiritual value of man. Such illusion leaders make the plans covering any number of years, but they can hardly make humanity happy in a state conditioned by the threefold miseries inflicted by material nature. One cannot control the laws of nature by any amount of struggling. One must at last be subject to death, nature's ultimate law. Death, birth, old age, and illness are symptoms of diseased condition of the living being. The highest aim of human life should therefore be to get free from these miseries and go back home, back to Godhead. प्रेमानेत्रे देखे तार स्वरूप प्रकाश गोप गोपी संगे यहाँ कृष्णेर विलास Premanetre with the eyes of love of Godhead, Deke one sees Tara its Swarupa Prakash, manifestation of identity. Gopa cowherd was Gopi Sangi with the cowherd themselves Yaha where Krishna Vilas, pastimes of Lord Krishna. But with the eyes of love of Godhead one can see its real identity as the place where Lord Krishna performs his pastimes with the cowherd boys and cowherd girls. चिन्तामणि प्रकर्षद्मशूकल्पवृक्ष लक्षावृतेषु सुरभैरभिपालयन्तं लक्ष्मीसहस्रशतसम्भ्रमसेव्यमानं गोविन्दमादिपुरुषं तमहं भजामि. Chintamani touchstone prakara groups made of sadmashu in abodes kalpavriksha of desire trees laksha by millions amriteshu surrounded surabhi cows avipalayantam tending Lakshmi of the goddess of fortune. Sahasra of thousands, Shata by hundreds, Sambrama with great respect, Sevyamanam, Govinda Adi Purusham, the original person, Tam, him, I, Bhajami, worship. I worship the Govinda, the primeval lord, the first progenitor, who is tending cows, yielding all desires, in abodes built with spiritual gems and surrounded by millions of purpose trees. He is always served with great reverence and affection by hundreds and thousands of goddesses of fortune. This is the verse from the Brahma Samhita. This description of abode of Krishna gives us definite information of the transcendental place where not only is life eternal, blissful and full of knowledge, but there are ample vegetables, milk, jewels, and beautiful homes and gardens tended by lovely damsels who are all goddesses of fortune. Krishna Loka is the topmost planet in the spiritual sky, and below it are innumerable spheres, a description of which can be found in Srimad Bhagavatam. In the beginning of Lord Brahma's self-realization, he was shown a transcendental vision of Vaikuntha spheres by the grace of Narayan. Later, by the grace of Krishna, he was shown a transcendental vision of Krishna Lok. This transcendental vision is like the reception of television from the moon by a mechanical system of receiving modulated waves, but it is achieved by penance and meditation within oneself. Srimad Bhagavatam second canto states that in Vaikuntha Loka the material modes of nature represented by the qualities of goodness, passion and ignorance have no influence in the material world. The highest qualitative manifestation is goodness. It is characterized by truthfulness, mental equilibrium, cleanliness, control of the senses, simplicity, essential knowledge, faith in God, scientific knowledge, and so on. Nevertheless, all these qualities are mixed with passion and imperfection. But the qualities in Vaikuntha are manifestation of God's internal potency, and therefore they are purely spiritual and transcendental with no trace of material affection. No material planet, even Satyaloka, is comparable in quality to the spiritual planets where the five inherent qualities of material world, namely ignorance, misery, egoism, anger, and envy, are completely absent. In the material world, everything is a creation. Anything we can think of within our experience, including even our own bodies and minds, was created. This process of creation began with the life of Brahma, and the creative principle is prevalent all over the material universe because of the quality of passion. But since the quality of passion is conspicuous by its absence in the Vaikuntha planets, nothing there is created. Everything there is eternally existent, and because there is no mode of ignorance, there is also no question of annihilation or destruction. In the material world, one may try to make everything permanent by developing the above mentioned qualities of goodness. But because the goodness in the material world is mixed with passion and ignorance, nothing here can exist permanently, despite all the good plans of best scientific brains. Therefore, in the material world, we have no experience of eternity, less and fullness of knowledge. But in spiritual world, because of the complete absence of the qualitative modes, everything is eternal, blissful, and cognizant. Everything can speak, everything can move, everything can hear, and everything can see, and fully blessed existence for eternity. The situation being so naturally, space and time in the forms of past, present, and future have no influence there. In the spiritual skull, there is no change because time has no influence. Consequently, influence of Maya, the total external energy which induces us to become more and more materialistic and forget our relationship with God. God is also absent there. As spiritual spark of the beams emanating from the transcendental body of the Lord, we are all permanently related with Him and equal to Him in quality. The material energy is a covering of the spiritual spark, but in the absence of material covering, the living being in Vaikuntha Loka are never forgetful of their identities. They are eternally cognizant of their relationship with the God in their constitutional position of rendering transcendental loving service to the Lord. Because they constantly engage in the transcendental loving service of the Lord, it is natural to conclude that their senses are also transcendental, for one cannot serve the Lord with the material senses. The inhabitants of Vaikuntha Loka do not possess material senses with which to lord it over the material nature. Persons with a poor fund of knowledge or conclude that a place void of material qualities must be some sort of formless nothingness. In the reality, however, there are qualities in the spiritual world, but they are different from the material qualities because everything there is eternal, unlimited, and pure. The atmosphere there is self illuminating, and thus there is no need of sun, moon, fire, electricity, and so on. One who can reach that abode does not come back to the material world with a material body. There is no difference between a theist and the faithful in the Vaikuntha planet because all who settle there are freed from material qualities, and thus suras and asuras become equally obedient, loving servitors of the Lord. The residents of the Vaikuntha have brilliant black complexion, much more fascinating and attractive than dull white and black complexion found in the material world. Their bodies, being spiritual, have no equals in the material world. The beauty of a bright cloud when lightning flashes on it merely hints at their beauty. Generally, the inhabitants of Vaikuntha dress in the yellow clothing. Their bodies are delicate and attractively built, and their eyes are like the petals of lotus flowers. Like Lord Vishnu, the residents of Vaikuntha have four hands decorated with the conch shell, heel, club, and lotus flower. Their chests are beautifully broad and fully decorated with necklaces of brilliant diamond-like metal surrounded by costly jewels never to be found in the material world. The residents of Vaikuntha are always powerful and effulgent. Some of them have complexion like red coral cat's eyes and lotus flowers, and each of them has earrings of costly jewels. On their heads they wear flowery crowns resembling garlands. In the Vaikunthas there are airplanes, but they make no tumultuous sounds. Material airplanes are not at all safe. They can fall down and crash anytime at any time. For matter is imperfect in every respect. In the spiritual sky, however, the airplanes are also spiritual, and they are spiritually brilliant and bright. These airplanes do not fly business executives, politicians, or planning commissions as passengers, nor do they carry cargo or postal bags, for these are all unknown there. These planes are for the pleasure trips only, and the residents of Vaikuntha fly in them with their heavenly, beautiful, fairy-like consorts. Therefore, these airplanes full of residents of Vaikuntha, both male and female, increasing the beauty of spiritual sky. We cannot imagine how beautiful they are, but their beauty may be compared to the clouds in the sky accompanied by silver branches of electric lightning. The spiritual sky of Vaikuntha Loka is always decorated in this way. And the full opulence of the internal potency of the Godhead is always resplendent in Vaikuntha Loka, where goddess of fortune are ever increasingly attached to serving the lotus feet of the personality of Godhead. These goddesses of fortune, accompanied by their friends, always create a festive atmosphere of transcendental mirth, always singing the glories of the Lord. They are not silent even for a moment. There are unlimited Vaikuntha planets in the spiritual sky, and the ratio of these planets to the material planet in the material sky is 3 to 1. Thus, the poor materialist is busy making political adjustment on a planet that is most insignificant in God's creation. To say nothing of this planet Earth, the whole universe with the innumerable planets throughout the galaxies is comparable to a single mustard seed in a bag of full of mustard seeds. And the poor materialist makes plans to live comfortably here and thus wastes his valuable human energy in something that is doomed to frustration. Instead of wasting his time with business speculation, he should seek a life of plain living and high spiritual thinking and thus save himself from perpetual materialistic unrest. Even if a materialist wants to enjoy developed material facilities, he can transfer himself to the planets where he can experience material pleasures much more advanced than those available on Earth. The best plan is to prepare oneself to return to the spiritual sky after leaving the body. However, if one is intent on enjoying material facilities, one can transfer himself to other planets in the material sky by utilizing yogic powers. The playful spaceships of the astronauts are but childish entertainments and are of no use for this purpose. The Ashtanga Yoga system is a materialistic art of controlling air by transferring it from stomach to the navel, from navel to the heart, from heart to the collarbone, and there to eyeballs, and from there to the cerebellum, and from there to any desired planets. The velocities of air and light are taken into consideration by the material scientist, but he has no information of the velocity of mind and intelligence. We have some limited experience of the velocity of mind because in a moment we can transfer our minds to places hundreds and thousands of miles away. Intelligence is even finer. Finer than intelligence is soul, which is not matter like mind and intelligence, but is spirit or antimatter. The soul is hundred of thousand of times finer and more powerful than intelligence. We thus can only imagine the velocity of soul in its traveling from one place to another. Needless to say, the soul travels by its own strength and not with the help of any kind of material vehicle. The bestial civilization of eating, sleeping, faring, and sense gratifying has misled modern man into forgetting how powerful a soul he has. As we have already described, the soul is a spiritual spark many times more illuminating, dazzling, and powerful than the sun, moon, or electricity. Human life is spoiled when a man does not realize his real identity with his soul. Lord Chaitanya appeared with the Lord Nityananda to save a man from this type of misleading civilization. Srimad Bhagavatam also describes how yogis can travel to all planets in the universe. When the vital force is lifted to the cerebellum, there is every chance that this vital force will burst out from the eyes, nose, ears, etc. As these are places that are known as the seventh orbit of the vital force. But the yogis can block these holes by complete suspension of air. The yogi then concentrates the vital force in the middle position that is between the eyebrows. At this position, a yogi can think of planet to which he wants to go after leaving the body. He can then decide whether he wants to go to the abode of Krishna and the transcendental Vaikunthas from which he will not be required to descend into the material world or to travel to higher planets in the material universe. The perfect yogi is at liberty to do either. For the perfect yogi who has attained success in the method of leaving body in perfect consciousness, transferring from one planet to another is as easy as ordinary man's walking to the grocery stores. As already discussed, the material body is just a covering of the spiritual soul. Mind and intelligence are the undercoverings, and the cross body of earth, water, air, and so on is the overcoating of the soul. As such, any advanced soul who has realized himself by the yogic process, who knows the relationship between matter and spirit, can leave the gross dress of the soul in perfect order and he desires. By the grace of God, we have complete freedom. Because the Lord is kind to us, we can live anywhere, either in the spiritual sky or in the material sky, upon whichever planet we desire. However, misuse of this freedom causes one to fall down into the material world and suffer the threefold miseries of conditioned life. The living of a miserable life in the material world by dint of the soul's choice is nicely illustrated by Milton in Paradise Lost. Similarly, by choice, the soul can regain paradise and return home back to God. At the crucial time of death, one can place the vital force between the two eyebrows and decide where he wants to go. If he is reluctant to maintain any connection with the material world, he can in less than a second reach the transcendental abode of Vaikuntha and appear there completely in his spiritual body, which will be suitable for him in the spiritual atmosphere. He has simply to desire to leave the material world, both in finer and in grosser forms, and then move the vital force to the topmost part of the skull and leave the body from the hole in the skull, called Brahma Randhar. This is easy for one perfect in the practice of yoga. Of course, man is endowed with a free will, and as such, if he does not want to free himself from the material world, he may enjoy the life of Brahmapada, the occupation of the post of Brahma, and visit Siddhaloka, the planets of materially perfected beings who have full capacities to control gravity, space, and time. To visit these higher planets in the material universe, one need not give up his mind and intelligence, finer matter, but need only give up grosser matter, the material body. Each and every planet has its particular atmosphere, and if one wants to travel to any particular planet within the material universe, one has to adopt his material body to the climatic condition of that planet. For instance, if one wants to go from India to Europe, where the climatic condition is different, one has to change his dress accordingly. Similarly, a complete change of body is necessary if he wants to go transcendental planets of Vaikuntha. However, if one wants to go to the higher material planets, he can keep his finer dress of mind, intelligence, and ego, but he has to leave his gross dress body made of earth, water, and fire, etc. When one goes to a transcendental planet, it is necessary to change both finer and gross bodies, for one has to reach the spiritual sky completely in a spiritual form. This change of dress will take place automatically at the time of death if one so desires. The Bhagavad Gita confirms that one will attain his next material body according to his desires at the time he leaves his body. The desire of mind carries the soul to a suitable atmosphere as the wind carries aromas from one place to another. Unfortunately, those who are not yogis but materialists who thought their lives indulge in sense gratification of the bodily and mental condition at the time of death. Such gross sensuality encumbered by the main ideas, desires, and association of the lives they have led. Desire something against their interest, and thus foolishly take on new bodies that perpetuate their own material miseries. Systematic training of mind and intelligence is therefore needed so that at the time of death one may consciously desire a suitable body either on this planet or another planet or even transcendental planet. A civilization that does not consider the progressive advancement of the immortal soul merely fosters a bestial life of ignorance. It is foolish to think that every soul that passes away goes to the same place. Either the soul goes to a place he desires at the time of death or upon leaving his body is forced to accept a position according to his acts in his previous life. The difference between the materialist and the yogi is that a materialist cannot determine his next body, whereas a yogi can consciously attain a suitable body for enjoyment in the higher planets. Throughout his life, the gross materialist who is constantly after sense gratification spends all day earning his livelihood to maintain his family, and at night he wastes his energy in sex enjoyment or else goes to sleep thinking about all he has done in the daytime. That is monotonous life in the of the materialist. Although differently engaged as businessman, lawyer, politician, professor, judges, coolies, pickpocket, laborer, and so on, materialists all simply engage in eating, sleeping, faring, and sense gratification, thus spoil their valuable life, pursuing luxury and neglecting to perfect their lives through spiritual realization. Yogis, however, try to perfect their lives, and by therefore the Bhagavad Gita enjoins that everyone should become a yogi. The yogi is a system for linking the soul in the service of the Lord. Only under superior guidance can a practice such yoga. Can one practice such yoga in his life without changing the social position? As already described, a yogi can go anywhere he desires without mechanical help. For yogi can place his mind and intelligence within the air circulating inside the body, and by practicing the art of breath control, he can mix that air with the air that blows all over the universe outside. With the help of universal air, you can travel to any planet and get a suitable body for its atmosphere. We can understand this process by comparing it to electronic transmission of radio messages. With radio transmitter, sound wave produced by that certain station can travel all over Earth in seconds. But sound is produced from ethereal sky, and as already explained, subtler than ethereal sky is the mind, and finer than the mind is intelligence. Spirit is still finer than intelligence, and by nature it is completely different from matter. Thus, we can just imagine how quickly the spirit soul can travel through the universal atmosphere to come to the stage of manipulating finer elements like mind, intelligence, and spirit. One needs appropriate training, an appropriate mode of and appropriate association. Such training depends upon sincere prayers, devotional service, achievement of success, mystic perfection, and and the success, mystic perfection, and the successful merging of oneself in the activities of soul and supersoul. A gross materialist, whether to be an empiric philosopher, a scientist, a psychologist, and whatever cannot attain such success through blunt efforts and word jugglery. Materialists who perform yajnas or great sacrifices are comparatively better than gross materialists who do not know anything beyond laboratories and test tubes. The advanced materialist who performs such sacrifice can reach the planet called Vaishvanar, a fiery planet similar to the Sun. On this planet, which is situated on the way out to Brahmaloka, the topmost planet in the universe, such an advanced materialist can free himself from all trace of vice and its effects when such a materialist is purified. Thus, he can rise to the orbit of the pole star Dhruvaloka. Within this orbit, which is called the Shishumar Chakra, they are situated in Adyalokas and Vaikuntha planet within the universe. A purified materialist who has performed many sacrifices, undergone severe penances, and gave the major portion of his wealth in charity can reach such planets as Dhruvaloka. And if he becomes still more qualified, there he can penetrate still higher orbits and pass through navel of the universe, reaching the planet Maharloka, where sages like Bhrigu Muni is life. Maharloka can be done. One can live even to the time of partial annihilation. This universe annihilation begins when Anantadeva from the lowest position of the universe produces a great blazing fire. The great heat of the fire reaches even Maharloka, and then the residents of Maharloka travel to Brahmaloka, which exists for twice the duration of Prarardhan time. The Brahma Loka, there is an unlimited number of airplanes that are controlled not by a yantra but by mantra. Because of existence of the mind intelligence as Brahmaloka, its residents have feeling of happiness and distress, but there is no causal lamentation from old age, disease, fear, or stress. They feel sympathy. However, for suffering living beings who are consumed by fire and inhalation, the residents, the residents of Brahmaloka do not have gross material bodies to change at death, but they transform their subtle bodies into spiritual bodies and thus enter into the spiritual sky. The residents of Brahmaloka can attain perfection in these three different ways. Virtuous person who reach Brahmaloka by dint of their past pious work become masters of various planets after the resurrection of Brahma. Those who have worshipped Garbhodakshaya Vishnu are liberated with Brahma, and those who are pure devotees of personality of God at once push through the covering of the entire universe and enter the spiritual sky. The thoughts, devotees, and those who are pure devotees, personality of God at once push through the covering of universe and enter spiritual sky. The numberless universes exist together in a form like clusters, and so only some of them are surrounded by the water of causal ocean. When agitated by the glands of Karna, Duksha, Vishnu, the material nature produces total elements which are eight in number, which are gradually evolved from finer to gross. The part of ego is the sky, and the part of which is air, a part of which is fire, a part of which is water, a part of which is earth. Thus, one universe inflates to an area of 4 billion miles in diameter. Yogi who desires gradually liberation must penetrate all the different coverings of the universe, including the subtle coverings of three qualitative modes of material nature. One who does this ever has to return to this model world. According to Shukadev Goswami, the above description of the material and spiritual sky is neither imaginary nor utopian. The actual facts are recorded in the Vedic hymns, and Lord Vasudeva disclosed them to Lord Brahma when Brahma satisfied him. One can achieve the perfection of life. One he has of life only when he has a definite idea of Vaikuntha and the Supreme Godhead. One should always think, abduct, and describe the Supreme Personality of God, for this is recommended in both Bhagavad Gita and Bhagavad Puran, which are two authorized commentaries upon the Vedas. Lord Chaitanya has made all these subject matters easier for the fallen people for this age to accept, and Sri Chaitanya Charitamrita has therefore presented them for easy understanding of all concerned.